Hey everybody, it's Taylor with Boydston Grove, and today we're gonna make this crazy looking photo booth to take cool videos like this.
That is so cool!
Let's get into it. Some of you might remember this hot rod that I built a while back. I think it came out really great, but I was really disappointed in the final shots that I took. I don't think they did it justice. Then I remembered this video that I saw by Mark Rober where he made a rotating photo booth. Now I'm not gonna make my version motorized like his quite yet. I'm gonna start with a simple prototype and work from there. I started with this pre-made round slab that I purchased years ago for a CNC project. I'm going to be using a Lazy Susan bracket to make this creation rotate, so I made some reference lines on the round slab and marked out the holes for the bracket. I also drilled a hole that will be used as an access to attach the bracket to the other piece that will sit on top. Speaking of the other piece, I cut down a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. Then I marked out where I wanted the bracket to sit. I wanted to slim down the piece as much as I could to reduce the weight, so I marked and cut out what will be 2 arms that will hold a camera on one end and a backdrop on the other. I also cut out the center of this piece to accommodate a post that will hold the stationary platform. You'll see what I'm talking about. Then I used my router to create a slot in both arms and put a roundover on all the edges of the piece. I cut some small squares of plywood and added them to the slab as feet. I also cut a 4x4 and used the table saw to cut off all the corners. This will act as the center post. Then I spray painted both pieces black. Just because it's a prototype doesn't mean it can't look nice. I permanently attached the post to the slab with screws and glue and then attached the bracket. Before adding the second piece, I oiled the bracket so it'll spin more freely. Then I attached another slab to the top of the post. Yes, I have more than one, but I only used a single screw so it can be removed if needed. Moving on to the backdrop, I used a 1/2 inch piece of plywood and used 2 nails and a thin piece of wood to mark out a curve. Then I used a simple compass to create a second line to my curve. I cut out a total of 2 of these curve pieces with the jigsaw. I cut some 1.5 inch strips of wood to 24 inch pieces and started to assemble the whole thing using some screws. I drilled a hole in the center of one end of the frame to insert a threaded insert that will in turn accept a star knob bolt. This will allow me to slide the backdrop forward and backwards if needed. It was at this point that I realized because I made those arms so slim, they were twisting under the weight and size of the backdrop. Good thing I only put 1 screw in that top slab.
That was close.
Lesson learned.
So I cut another piece, this time leaving one end wider to be able to support that backdrop. I also moved the center hole towards the end with the backdrop so I could extend the slot for the camera rig just a little bit. I removed the end of one of my tripods and realized that it fit really snugly on the end of a 1 1/4 inch dowel. So I cut the dowel to length and added a threaded insert in one end. That actually worked out pretty well. I stuck some pieces of Velcro on the backdrop frame and used a piece of poster board for the backdrop. That way I can remove it and swap it out if I want to.
Good plan.
Alright, our crazy photo booth is finished and I gotta say, this thing is pretty cool. There's just a few things that I would change. Number one, I would change out this platform right here so I can film larger objects. And because I made the curvature of the backdrop frame bigger than this circle, it won't be a problem adding a larger circle without it affecting the backdrop. You probably noticed this little arm that I added down here. I had to add that because I realized after a couple test runs that because I'm not using a traditional camera and I'm just using a cell phone for all my filming, when you turn a cell phone sideways, the camera is off-center just a little bit. And when I was putting it in the center slot, all my shots were a little off-center. So now I added this little adjustable arm and I can make sure that all my shots are dead on center. The nice thing about this little arm is that I just use those threaded inserts and another star knob, so if I ever get a traditional camera, I can just take out the little arm. You probably also noticed this little panel light that I added on top, and that is to keep consistent lighting on the subject when I'm spinning everything around. It's a really cool little item, it's really bright, works really well, it's battery operated. I'll make sure to leave a link to it in the description below. And of course, eventually I would really like to make this motorized like Mark Rober's so that it can turn on itself, but for now, I'm pretty satisfied with the way it came out. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other cool ideas or additions we can add to this to improve upon it. Thank you very much for watching, be safe, and have a great day.